Okay, let's just go back 2 lines where we just said Gemara's teretz. And the Gemara's teretz was Ella. Let's take it up from the Ella. 5 lines into Mem Gilum Rav. Erev Tov Rav Noach. Ella. Rishon the Isaminat Torah Bigvulin. So we're still trying to figure out what is the pshat in the Mishnah. Why is day one seemingly we're allowed to take the lulav and other days? So says the Gemara, day one, that's deoraisa outside of Eretz Yisrael. So look, Gazru Buhu Rabbanan, inside of Eretz Yisrael, inside Beis Hamikdash. Hanoch, the other days, Delesnayu Minatayr Bigvulin, it's not a deoraisa outside of Beis Hamikdash. Gazru Ba'abanan, inside of Beis Hamikdash. So this is really where we ended off yesterday, which is, it comes out, it's almost a relative equation. It comes out that how chashiv the day is determines what happens in Beis Hamikdash. And we ended off that the question was being asked that in Beis Hamikdash it's always a daraisa. So what's going on over here? What should change? So we don't really have clarity, but we know the equation. We know the equation, so let's stick to the equation for the moment. Rashi gives a little bit. I don't want to make it confusing because we're gonna get. So again, Nachamal. Day one is daraisa everywhere, so we can take lulav in Beis Hamikdash. Day 2 to 8 is day 2 to 7 is not daraisa everywhere, so you can't take it in Beis Hamikdash. So ask the Gemara if this is the equation. Ihachi, if this is true, ha'inna nami, nowadays the same thing should be true. Meaning, if the whole reason why in Beis Hamikdash we're taking it on day one is because outside of Beis Hamikdash it's a daraisa, that doesn't change. It's the same daraisa always. What's the daraisa? That never changed. So why we're asking Bizman Hazeh, are we not taking lulav on day number one? If the whole pshat is that it's a chashivus part, day one is so chashiv, that should never end. Says the Gemara. You know why? Because anan, we lo yadinon b'kivua diyarcha. We don't know. Literally, kivua diyarcha means, kivios means the setting, to be kivea, to set, diyarcha, the months. What that means is, we don't really know what date, we don't really know what date is Sukkot. Well, what does that mean? But we in America, we in Gullus, hold 2 days of Yom Tov the first day. Why? Sveika Diyama. We don't know. So the Gemara now is answering, really, maybe you're right. On the first day, we should take Lulav and Shabbos. You know why we don't? Because we don't know what's day number one. So what's the obvious question? Says the Gemara, in who's they? Eretz Yisrael, Diyadi b'kivua diyarcha. They know what day it is. In Eretz Yisrael, there's only one day of Yontif. So in Diyadi, that they know b'kivua diyarcha. They know the setting of the month. They know what day Sukkot is. Lidchu, it should push off Shabbos. Again, let's just get the question clear. Why? Because if the whole reason that in the Mishnah, in Beis Hamikdash, it puts off Shabbos is why? Because day one is daraisa everywhere. That doesn't change. So even Bizman Hazeh, day one should push off Shabbos. Says the Gemara, you're right, it should. No, but we don't know what day one is. Okay, in Eretz Yisrael, do they know what day one is? Yes. So in Eretz Yisrael, it should push off. Answers the Gemara, Ein Hacha Nami. You're right.
The same answer.
Day one pushes off even Bizman Hazeh. Now, we know this is not true, but that's what the Gemara says. Yes, I'm sorry.
Answer as previously, the way the
Lord. What do you mean? Explain yourself.
The fact that previously we said we were learning from outside Eretz Yisrael.
Correct. So the Gemara is answering that equation applies even nowadays. That since day number one is a daraisa, unanimously, lokachtem lochem b'yoyim harishon. So therefore, day number one will always have the power to push off Shabbos, even Bizman Hazeh. Where? In Yerushalayim. Why? Because they know what day number one is. That's what the Gemara says. Now the Gemara proves this point. Ditani Chada. We're now proving, and I know it's hard for our brains to comprehend this because the Gemara is saying that nowadays it pushes off Shabbos, and we know it's not true. So it's a little bit hard for our brains to get it. But that's what the Gemara is saying. Says the Gemara, I'm going to prove to you that nowadays, day number one pushes off Shabbos. Ditani Chada, we learned in one Mishnah. Ditani Chada, we learned in one Mishnah. B'yom Tova Rishon Shel Chag, on the first day of Yontif. Shechal liyos b'Shabbos, that falls out on Shabbos. Kolam, all the people. Ma'elichan esalulaveim, bring the lulavim. Laharabayis. This should sound familiar. Where was this? This is our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said that what happens when day one is Shabbos, you bring your lulav where? To Harabayis. What did the Mishnah continue? You put it on the benches. Next day, they throw it out. You take it. You beat up your friend, etc. That's our Mishnah. Vitnanya idach, and we have another Mishnah, which this is actually Mem Aleph Amud Beis. This you go back a daf. What did the Mishnah there say? We point this out. It's a minor nuance. Lebeis HaKnesses. If you that Mishnah taught us, if day number one falls in Shabbos, you know you do. Bring the lulav to shul in Erev Shabbos. Wait, is it the shul or is it the Beis Hamikdash? Which one is it? Says the Gemara, you know what I'll tell you? Shema Mina, this is a raya. Kan, our Mishnah, Bizman Beis Hamikdash Kayim, is when there's a Beis Hamikdash. So when there's a Beis Hamikdash, where do you bring the lulav on day number one? To the Beis Hamikdash. Kan, the previous Mishnah was what? Bizman She'ein Beis Hamikdash Kayim. Where do you bring your lulav? To Beis HaKnesses, to Shul. Shema Mina. This is a good raya, period. Now, this is a little bit, again, difficult because this is the end of the Gemara. And the Gemara is concluding, Shema Mina, that Bizman Hazeh, in Yerushalayim,
Right in between the time of the first and this in the second.
because it's saying Ha'idna. This is Gemara, Ha'idna. Nowadays, this is Bavel. This is Gemara talking. Now, the answer is, don't worry, in a bit of time, we're going to get to Mem Dalid. The Gemara there is going to retract this whole thing. The reason it's interesting is because usually the Gemara doesn't end. Usually when a Gemara ends Shema Mina, it's like a seal of approval. Shema Mina is good raya. If it's a good raya, okay. So I'm just, don't get all confused. Like, what do you mean? We don't do this nowadays.
Saying this sukkahs, we should all bring our love.
Yeah, exactly. If we don't get there by Sukkot, someone doesn't not get this year. We'd be parading in. Like, what are you doing? What do you mean? Gemara said Shema Mina. Okay, let's not jump so quick. So again. So that's an interesting point. The Gemara is jumping on to. It's very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah,
Basically, it was only
after the Takana. No, so that means it comes out this really
but
three
it
times.
seems like after that. Basically,
No, so it's just interesting that why does the Gemara?
basically was at the time.
You're right. No, you are right, but it's just funny because the Gemara grabs up to one, but you're right, it comes out there's really three different times. In Zman Beis Hamikdash, it started in Beis Hamikdash, then it went to Beisai, then after it went to Beis Knesses. So I think it was really bothering you. So why did it go to Beisai? Why didn't it just go to Beis Knesses? It doesn't sound like Beis Knesses they ever had a real problem. So if they never had a real problem with Beis Knesses, why do they go? Why do they jump all the way to Beisai? So why don't they just do it? If when the Beis Knesses was destroyed, they figured out a way to do it in shul. So when the Beis Hamikdash was around, they should figure out a way to go to shul. But why do they go all the way? Why did they say shul?
Because maybe they were just like, no fights, go home.
No, you're right. No. I'm asking what you're saying.
Maybe they didn't think. Then they calculated years later, guys. Probably
no, but you're right. But then when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, then why would they now get up and say, "Oh, now bring it to shul"? That's so weird. If for hundreds of years they've been bringing it to Beisai, so now there's no Beis Hamikdash, so bring it to shul. No, continue doing what you're doing. Bring it to Beisai.
When did shuls
No.
Either way,
No.
Either way, no, you're right.
Shul comes after Beis Hamikdash.
You are right. You are right. I mean, there was makom ma'imah, there were daven and different things, but the question is, in Bisman Beis Hamikdash, what happened? First, it was in Beis Hamikdash. Then it got wild, so they took it to Beisai. Now the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed. We all of a sudden announce, bring it to shul. Why would we do that? Continue bringing it to Beisai. I don't know. It's a very good question. Okay, but Lamaisa, why don't they? Okay, good. That's the end of the Gemara. So again, let's just get this clear. The Gemara is concluding that on day number 1, the reason why they took that Lamaisa, this sugya finishes for today and for a long time, that day number 1, Lulav pushes off Shabbos. Why? Again, the relative equation. Because since day number 1 is Daraisa everywhere, in Beis Hamikdash and out of Beis Hamikdash, in Eretz Yisrael and in Chutz La'aretz, therefore it's Daicha Shabbos. Now, the Gemara asks, and the Gemara explains a detail that we've probably said around this table 100 times. But the Gemara now elaborates.
Only in Eretz Yisrael.
Only in Eretz Yisrael, very good. Why? Because Kviyah Diarach. Thank you. Because out of Eretz Yisrael, we don't know what day 1 is. I thought someone was going to ask the question. We do know what day 1 is. That's a good question. Why in the world are we still doing it? That's a Gemara. Gemara says once we started, we don't stop. But yes, 100%. Says the Gemara, De'isei min ha'Torah bigvulin minola. De'isei min ha'Torah, that it is a da'araisa, that there is an obligation to take your lulav, bigvulin, even outside of Beis Hamikdash, minolan. Where do we know this? Where this whole equation that we're saying is that on day number 1, it's da'araisa everywhere. Says the Gemara, no, we didn't say where we know it from. We said it is. Now the Gemara is asking, good, you told me it's daraisa everywhere. And because it's daraisa everywhere, we take lulav day number 1 in Eretz Yisrael, even Mizman Hazeh. But how do you know it's daraisa everywhere? Titania, we learned in our Braisa, V'lokachtem, and you should take, this is the pasuk of this is the pasuk of taking a lulav, the dalaminim. So the pasuk says v'lakachtem, and you should take. That's the word of the pasuk. Now the Gemara explains what that word means. Again, Titania, we learned in a brayso. V'lakachtem, you should take. What does that mean? Shetehei lekicha biyad kol echad ve'echad. Shetehei, that it should be lekicha, taking biyad kol echad ve'echad, each and every person. That the din of taking daled minim is a din, is a halacha for every person. That's the first word in the pasuk. Lochem, that's the second word of the pasuk. This we've already learned already. Mishel lochem, it has to be yours. Which means what? What do we learn out from the word lochem? Lehoitzi, that excludes. Lehoitzi, that excludes. This was the whole first parak. Es ha'sha'ul, if your lulav is borrowed. Ves ha'gazel, if your lulav is stolen. Thank you. We learn things out of order, so the brain is all messed up. Thank you. Lehoitzi es ha'sha'ul, ves ha'gazel. There has to be lochem. It can't be borrowed. It can't be stolen. The next word in the pasuk, biyoim. Again, so we're darshing word by word. V'lakachtem taught us. Everyone has to take. Lochem taught us. It can't be stolen or borrowed. Biyoim teaches us. Ve'afilu b'Shabbos. That even on Shabbos, you take the daled minim. Rishain, that's the next word of the pasuk, or harishain. Afilu bigvulin, even outside of Eretz Yisrael. Harishain, the extra hay, the first. Which now, if we read the whole pasuk, v'lakachtem lochem, and you should take b'yoim harishain, on the first day, teaches us milami, that teaches us she'ino yidoichet, does not push off, eliyom toiv harishain bilvad, only the first day of Sukkot. So this is the Makar, which we've referenced many times. This is going backwards. This is,
No, I understand what was happening.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Each limud has to do with the word that they're
Yes, correct. So Harishain. So I'll tell you. So Harishain, the extra hey, the Torah could have said, "V'lakachtem lachem b'yoyim rishain."
I understand.
Yeah.
The question is not on the young and it's not on Parish.
Okay.
Of Rishon, I'm feeling the clear. What should I do?
Plus the Rishon and Har Rishon sounds like it tells them the same thing.
You could,
No.
the thing is extra.
Good.
Rishon means outside, even outside of
You're asking how does Rishon tell you that? Good. So Rashi asks your kasha, not just because you love Rashi, but Rashi actually asks your kasha. Look at Rashi. Rashi says Rishon af bigvulin. Rashi says lav meirebuye darish. It is not learning it out from a ribuye. A ribuye means an extra word. We're not learning it out of the extra word. Elo v'lakachtem biyoim rishon v'loy piresh mikdash. When the pasuk says no, one second. When the pasuk says a mitzvah, it doesn't say where it applies. If the mitzvah was only in the Beis Hamikdash, what should the pasuk have said? V'lakachtem biyoim harishon b'mikdash. For the fact that the Torah doesn't say. So we're learning it. That's what Rashi's saying. Very good. Rashi's saying it's the doesn't say. It's the end of the phrase. That's what it is. Kachtam b'yoyim rishon says Rashi. Wait, pause. Where? Oh, clearly everywhere. Why? Because it doesn't say b'mikdash.
I'm making a reboy.
That is exactly what bothered Rashi. And Rashi is teaching us that Lakachtam teaches me a din of Lakicha is every person. Luchem comes to teach me not stolen and guzzled. Rishon teaches me, B'yoyim teaches me Shabbos. Rishon teaches me, whoa, pause. Wait, where? It doesn't say.
B'yoyim and Har Rishon sound like saying the same thing.
That's true. That's true.
And Har Rishon is telling you that it's Daicha.
It's true. And that's why every word. No, but let's get to 1 second. I'll answer your question in a minute. But that's what the Gemara is saying. The fact that it doesn't say where, the light Pireish Mikdash, it doesn't say only in the base of Mikdash. So that teaches me everywhere. Now you could ask, the Torah doesn't talk that way, which is a good question.
That's the whole reason we ever do Midrash.
Right. Yeah. So it's a little bit complicated. Yeah. No, that's why Rashi's asking your kasha. And he's answering that what the Gemara means, the fact that it says Lakachtam Yoim Rishon and doesn't say where.
You're telling me no, it's not a riba. Why are all the other things?
Rashi says the Mashna Kodu and the Curry Seru the Matzah the Mitzvah Rishon. Like you would think that maybe if you would just say B'yoyim for Shabbos, you would think it's by every day.
Yeah, no, that's utterly good. No, but again, the Mikdash is Rashi is teaching us the fact that the pasuk says a mitzvah, and it doesn't say where the mitzvah applies. It means it applies everywhere. Which could be. Yeah, you can ask. There's other places in the Torah that's not true. Okay, you have to find those places. Okay, that's the drasha. Again, a Harishain teaches me Yom Tov. Harishain the first, and that actually teaches me just the first day. Period. That's the end of the brayso. It's a perfect place to stop. So again, that's just outside before we give us time to read inside. We learned two incredible dinim. I'm going to say them backwards. We learned the mikar that we've been saying so many times, that day one is daraisa everywhere, is this pasuk, and we darshan it word by word. And number two is what we learn is that the Gemara today is concluding that day number one indeed is Doicha Shabbos, afilu b'zman hazeh, in Eretz Yisrael. Why? We know it's day number one. It's a limud hakra. Because it's so chashiv, it will even be Doicha Shabbos b'zman hazeh. We have a raya from the two Mishnayos. Our Mishnah says B'mikdash. Previous Mishnah says basic and SS. One is when there is a basic Mikdash. One is when there's not. Pick it up from here. Siyata Bishmai.